Alright, I'm making this video purely on a gentleman that I just got finished watching, or I guess I'm halfway watching it, and he's talking about what maps are, like, what maps could work as a Dominion map. I, I don't agree with a lot of it, so I will be doing my own. I'll start with Forest then. Because I don't know what he was thinking with the whole minion lane, which I don't really like. Because you have to remember, there is a map where the minions go down a entirely different route. There is, I can't remember the exact, but it was like the last map you play on in the story mode when you kill a Polygon. I fucking can't remember for the life of me. But anyways. Yeah. So, you got minion lane, then B in the lower segment, and A on the higher segment. And in a game mode, an event game mode, there was a bridge across that. Right where, like, the ramps to A go. Okay. So, this is what I was thinking. You could have a spawn right here, because it's almost perfect. It's, like, when I play Shaolin, this screams spawn point. So, we go up here. There is a, you go to one of the other, one point. I'll just go over here for the convenience. I really do like these bridges. They're kind of cutesy. But this could be a point right here. It works really well. However, this ledge does make things a little tricky. Nah, don't get me wrong. I love ledging. But I mean, to some degree, it is a little AIDS to be worried about being ledged constantly. And I'm not really for baby-proofing stuff, but also this is a pretty cute little log, again. Now, this is what I was thinking. God damn it. Hold on. This could be minion lane. Down here. Near the death pit. This is perfect. Unless... Actually, you know what? There's not even an unless. Because if there is, I don't know, A point up there and B point right here, they're way too close to each other. And we got tons of empty space on the other side of the map. So I guess either this could be a minion lane, or there's really no other areas because they'll become compact. But I do agree that I could have sworn you could play in this tower. So I mean, what they could do is refurbish it a little bit and kind of have that as a different point entirely. However, this map becomes more on this spawn's benefit, and it kind of fucks over the other spawn. It's very one-sided, and that doesn't sound really fun. So what they could do here is they could remove this boulder. Keeping this tree, I don't think really is a big deal. I guess you could make an argument for getting rid of this, but again, I really do like this little area. So they could get rid of this boulder and be fine. So, I really do hope they refurbish this tower and make sure it's like, you can actually access it. But I don't see this working as a minion lane at all. Because I was thinking this could be a spawn. And this spawn allows you to go that way, up to one of the points. This area. You know, going down to the minion lane, or that point over there. This point being whatever. It's perfect. This could be a spawn, but I feel like this is kind of like an iconic spot to fight. So I feel like this should be just a point entirely. And maybe shrink the ledge a tad bit. So it's not like go to. Because I'm going to be honest. When I see this, I was like, ah, this is a perfect time to ledge. So again, one spawn point right next to the bell, another spawn point down over there. I feel like it's decently spaced. Maybe the other spawn being... I think it works really well. That's what I was thinking. And with whatever these spaces are, let's take a look. Again, I think this is just a different traversal for the other spawn to go over here. However, you run into the issue of it goes directly to the spawn. Or I guess next to. So, I guess in theory, you could get fucked. So, I mean, what they could do is just have this be obstructed, or lead into the building itself. Not necessarily just delete the bridge. Actually, I'm remembering, what do you call it? That one Japanese map where they changed the fuck out of it. It might be Sanctuary. I don't remember things by name, but they changed a rock bridge into just a complete bridge. So I mean, what they could just do is kind of destroy it, so they still have the soul of this bridge, but really this pathing could just lead into the building itself. And this is just the pathing for getting to a point, and that be that. Or they could just go up and around to Minion Lane. So, yeah, that's my thought on that. I feel like Forrest could... I think he's overthinking it. I think he really is overthinking it. I think the Village is also a pretty good one. Again, I think he's overthinking it a tad bit. Because what he was offering a point where it's like 2 points were too close together, and I don't think would work well. Map. The Shard. Yeah, that was it. The Shard has, of course, Minion Lane, B, and then A. Like, I do admit that I do like this kind of neat layout, but I also like a random, right? Not everything is formally made. All these are Dominion. He's on this map right now, so I'm gonna hold off on that. I'm stupid. Where is it? Canyon. I generally agree with his Canyon one. But I was also thinking that Graveyard could be... Actually, here's a top view. So, having a spawn right here is fair enough. The only issue is being on the docks directly allows the enemy team to absolutely cuck you throughout the round. I'm gonna be honest, you're gonna get cucked a lot. Like, you better be evenly matched, otherwise you are actually fucked. I am actually gonna lower the volume a teensy little bit. I love the music, but I need to focus up here. Where was it again? God damn it. Canyon. Yeah. So what you could do here is, I did like his idea of having... This map is kind of tricky because he was proposing to have Minion Lane right here. And my proposal was to have Minion Lane either here or here. So having Minion Lane here works really well. And what you could do is just have... Shit. Because I really do want to have a reason to fight here. I don't want to spawn camp. So again, it probably is the best to have a spawn right here, where you go up the rock face, and have like a spawn, not necessarily here, but maybe like right here. Just going based on spacing, here's a pretty good opposite to it. Of course, you got minion lane and B point, or A point right here, next to the house, and another point next to the canyon. I think that's a pretty good layout. With tower, I don't understand what he is thinking. I think I should just show you, like, actually in the game. Night. I think that's brighter. I'm gonna go with brighter. I think he was on the right track with minion lane being in the lower segment under the bridge. But I was also thinking maybe having a point on the bridge itself. I don't really mind the verticality. I think verticality is great because it adds uniqueness. It's not a generic Dominion flat landscape. Sure, like things like Harbor are elevated to some extent, but it's not always that case. So, I mean, I do like different things. And not just basically reskins, almost. That's kind of mean. That's not necessarily true. I hope my idea gets across very well.
Round one.
Okay. I was thinking maybe this is definitely could be a point. Most definitely. It just gives that vibe of a point. Now, of course, I would think a point should be the exact opposite location. So, of course, having minion lane here would work fine. This is kind of directly above that, so this is too close. So, maybe having a spawn right here. This kind of works really well. I would say maybe having a point here, but again, it feels too open for that. So, this be spawn, and this could be another point. Since it's kind of far. Him saying this is kind of hard to figure out is fair, but then again, you just have a point here, or actually have a point here. So in this case, it's not necessarily one-sided. So they have a point closer to them and a point closer to this spawn, which is up here, right in this little spot. Again, screams spawn point. He is right. I completely respect, or I guess understand, why he says this is a tricky thing with the verticality. But you just gotta be a little creative. Well, with minion lane, I do understand that it's kind of conflicting. So, they may very well need to expand the bridge at least a teensy-eensy little bit. Again, to kind of keep the soul of the thing intact. You can't really delete this, because it's like, when you think of this map, this is kind of within the territory. So, and it's also, it seems very one spawn sided. So expanding this bridge will probably be the best bet here. So yeah, mini lane could be right here, and you got a little underpass, which I mean, I don't want them to remove it. I really do like this little It feels very rustic. I don't know, but yeah. That's my thoughts on this map. I think it works well. We just gotta think outside the box a bit. And as for the tower being kind of useless, that's a good point. It's a very rough situation to deal with, to be honest. Yeah, I completely understand where he was coming from. So, instead, I don't want to say it, but I would say have a point here. But again, I think with the one point at the tree makes a lot more sense. So you still technically can just access it through this tower and be fine. As for up here, I don't know what you could do. Yeah. That's the best thought process I could possibly give on this map. Yeah, I don't really have anything. Other than more Dominion maps, why haven't they made that one kind of vanilla Chinese map, dual map, a training map yet? Like, why is it not that? Alright, custom match. Let's take a look. So we got a look at that shipyard. He just mentioned this. And honestly, not like looking at it now, I completely see what he was talking about. Because my original idea for Minion Lane was this bridge right here, where you usually fight. You know, like if you're playing arcade, this is usually where you're fighting minions. Having a point here and a point here completely work, but the issue you run into is where the spawns. So that makes you have an issue of, well, where are the spawns gonna be? So we could just... I think this is harder than he makes it out to be. I really do. It is a lot trickier than he thinks. So it's not simply like minions come down from here. If we're talking about on the ship, I don't think it'd be possible to have minions fight like vertically. So fight it. It just that won't work. I'd say remove the ship, but I do like the idea of minions kind of splitting in half to fight different lanes of combat. I do like that. That will hinder mid-clearing. So let's just call this B, right? Ship is B. We still have a problem of where the fuck is the spawns. I would say one spawn here, or like in here, since they do technically have it, a spawn way back in here. So I guess what they could do is open up the remaining bit in this door, or in this little house. So that's where another spawn could be. Spawn in here, and spawn in this building. So then, again, you still run this issue, because right here is a point. And the other point he was proposing was here. So it becomes one-sided. Because they get both points. And I guess they could get fucking this, but... yeah. So, what they could just do is fix this area. Fix this area so either this whole bit is a point, which I don't really like, I think it's a little. That's a little too large. But then again, that has happened with what map was that? There was one map that really had a huge point. Not that. I'm trying to remember. Son of a bitch. Escape my mind. It had the waterfall, the water mill. Wait a minute. It came back to me. The forge. Jesus Christ, I'm stupid. Right at the close, actually, I could just show it up right here. Right here. This little long bit. So they are very willing to have a large point here. And I also like if they brought back the C shape bit back behind the forge. That'd be also great, but they won't. What point was I looking at? What map? Shipyard. That's what it was. So this little bridge could help with rotating to this point. Now that's great. We figured out this point. I've seen it inside of this building. I think it works. I think it works really well as a point. However, since this point is closer to the spawn, we need to have this spawn have a benefit, other than being one-sided and getting absolutely fucked. So again, it comes back to this needing to be expanded and or cleaned up for this to be a valid point. Yeah. That's my resolution for Shipyard. With Cathedral, I don't know what he was going on about with needing to shift shit. Because we... Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Am I stupid? Oh yeah. Okay. So if you remember the Wyverndale event, they do have this map technically still in their systems, where there is a huge circle point right here. That was one of the points in the Wyverndale event map. Right here. This could be a point. You got Minion Lane, which obviously everyone with a rational mind can get behind that. And this little bit right here could be another point. So it is literally balanced. The stuff is vertically set up, and it just comes down to these spawns, you know, actually spacing their spawn points rather fairly. I think it's fair right now, since they're about the same distance. However, for this spawn, it feels like they're kind of closer. But then again, this perspective, there's a little bit more space right here for them to spawn. What they could do is just have the spawns directly where my cursor is, and have their spawns, the other dude spawns, like right here. Just to reduce the travel time. I don't really think they need to get rid of the Cathedral. Not to mention, what's the point in having a point here? I completely get, having some point to having these geysers here. At the same time, though, I think it's good for, like, security with having no one to worry about and spawn. But then, if you're gonna have a point here, you're gonna need to even that out. You're gonna need to make it fair for the other team. So where is the other point gonna be that's closer to their home base? You run into this dilemma. I do like the idea of having a point with the geysers, but you still need to even out for the other people. So I guess you could make a point here, but that just doesn't look good. That doesn't work. And it blows, but that's just how it is. Cinder Mill, again, I think he's not really thinking. I think he was on point with having this to be a spawn where the mine is. Perfect spot for a spawn, kind of like the Dead by Daylight spawn. So a spawn. Actually, no, never mind. This was a point in the Dead by Daylight event, not a spawn point. So a spawn point here, and another one at the gate right here. But again, you run into this issue of this is a point, and this is closer to that. So you could have your two spawn points at the start, the rail, and in this little ruin. Now this makes them closer to each other than the other points. So they're actually have to no, not the case. They could have minion lane right here, a point here, and a point in this like secluded spot, or right here in this little cute spot. I feel like this would be nice, but I think this would work much more effectively. But they need to clear it up. And I don't want them. Oh, you need a reason to have the space here. So, and the only reason I can really think of is a fucking ballista, and that doesn't really make any sense. So, either here and they remove this whole bit, which I don't really like removing content, but I think a fair thing to have is they scrap this, clear this area, and this be a point. Point, mid, point. It is kind of diagonally set, and is pretty reasonable. Of course, this point being way farther from these guys than these guys. But this point is being really, or this point being way closer to these guys. So, yeah. I don't think this really works as a point at all. This little area doesn't really work. I see it as a peel point, where it's like you go from minion lane, you split, and you go here. And the minions can come from here and from the mines. From the gate. Because it's a perfect fucking line. Perfect line right through here to the middle. And the little kiddos in the mine just travel up there. And it works really well. And this could be a peel point going up over the bridge and all that. And also through this little underpass. What's another one? We talked about forest. Canopy is a really easy one to work with. But we'll start with Viking Village. Okay. This could be done in several ways. One, have points in this building and this building, removing the possibilities of this being a point and this being a point. So then you'd have to worry about a point in this general area and a point here. So this is closer here, and this point being closer to here, and minion lane obviously being here. Another solution is they have a spawn point in this little building Overwatch little area, and a spawn point here. I think this works a lot better than a long ways horizontally. Yeah. So spawn here-ish generally. Midpoint obviously staying the same. A point right here and another point in this building. It utilizes these two iconic locations as points, and I think this is probably the best way to have this set up. That's my personal take on it, but yeah, I think that's just how it generally works. And I think there are some maps that have this weird ass. I think it was actually what was it? Gauntlet, where you go here, you spawn here-ish. Then you could go down into a point, but you could be really stupid and go up these staircases that no one ever uses. Well, not always. I haven't seen many people do that, but it's still accessible. And you also have staircases up here, which I don't really see many people doing that much anyways. So in this case, Viking Village could do the same thing with having this weird ass spot to go down to get to a point. And also you have this dilemma, or I guess this thing of figuring it out, that this spawn being closer to this point and this spawn being closer to this point. That's my personal take on it. Man, I'm tired of speaking, working, Jesus. I don't quite remember how Marketplace works. I'm gonna be honest. Out of all the maps, this is the map that I don't play as much. This is the I touch this one the least. I might just touch it in the next For Honor hero fighting videos, just for the sake of actually utilizing it. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of movement. It's not necessarily vertical, but there's a lot of vertical surfaces that you travel along. So, well, we need to get our bearings going on first. I think this is just better if we actually see it in game, because I am mind boggled at the moment. I need to actually like see it. I don't want them to focus on one faction maps. It is kind of, we do get 2 maps, so it would be kind of fair for them to do 1 faction map every 2 maps. So this year might be Vikings, 2 Viking maps over the year. Then the next year could be all samurai and so on. I'm not too sure how accurate or how true that will be. But yeah, I think Viking Village has a fair shot, though. It definitely has a fair shot. Forest, I hope, does happen, but I don't know. You're gonna have to think a lot with Forest. You know, I'll just talk about which ones I think are the most probable. Because knowing Ubisoft, no insult to the For Honor team, as of recent with the event weapons, for example, or at least the new ones, you see they are usually just reskins, which is a bummer, but I think they would try to cut costs as much as possible, and if they're going big, they're probably going to make a whole new map entirely.
Round 1.
I do hope they make maps dedicated to, you know, the Aztec, the Egyptian, so on and so forth, for the, you know, the unique maps again, but that probably won't happen. There is usually a path up there, at least a small path, so I think this works decently as a spawn. I don't know, this one's kind of tough to think about. Alright, this is definitely a good map, or a good spawn point. And going directly down here, you could have a point here, maybe? Or a point up there. So, spawn behind there, and a point perhaps like right here. It is kind of close, but not on top of. And it is a pretty good spacing. And now, if you go down here, of course you got Minion Lane, which I think is actually a pretty decent size. It may be a tad bit narrow, but then you got another team. So again, to even it out, to have, you know, points that are relatively close to each other, or to one spawn, This seems kind of compact, a little too small to be a point. But actually, I think it works pretty well, since you could probably add, like, a ledging point here. This could be a point. Maybe expand it a little bit, remove some of the debris. That could work. You don't want to... I don't want to get too far, because you still need to bend the knee a little bit to this area. You could probably have a point directly in front of them, to be honest. You could have a point right here. And, like, going up to that underpass is where the minion lane is going to be. Right here is where the minion lane is going to be. I think it's kind of close, but I can't really give a good gauge. It's a lot of clutter. That's the problem with trying to figure this map out for Dominion. It is very cluttered. So... hell, you could actually have one of the points, like, elevated. I do think this point is fine. Having that as a point is fine. There's a lot of stuff going on. So having that... so since that other point is so close, they could also have a point really close to, like, right here. And it circles around right where this bridge ends, all the way to... maybe that's a little too close. Maybe to, like, where this little underpass ends. Maybe. Damn. I think that's probably the best way they could do it. Again, this map is really tough to figure out. At least for me. You guys might be different, but either a point there or a point up here. Which again, if there's a point up here, you have to deal with the issue that there's not much space. Unless they open this door and have that be the point. But again, I don't think so. Or, actually a better idea is they have this point be a long gate. A point all the way around, over this bridge. And, like, cutting off, like, right here. But again, you still run the issue of that being really close to that. And, I don't know. Yeah, this one's kind of... this is probably the most unlikely. However, I do think they have the possibility of making it work. I do think Ubisoft can make it work. So it's not completely out of question, but you're going to have to be creative with it. And don't get me wrong, like the tower map, they could get rid of the little pond with the statue, because they did that with the coffin in the fucking sanctuary when they reworked that map a while back. It's killing me not knowing what that name was. Yeah, Temple Garden. Temple Garden. Up here there used to be a coffin, and right here is... actually, they still have it. Or at least in here, they still have the old map layout. Probably an error on their part. I think that's still there. That statue's still there. Is it? No, I think it is. I think it just... multiplayer gamer brain, I forgot it's there. I just focus on the objectives. Did they... wait, is it different since it's elimination? Hold on a second. Please. Oh my god, please. I'll be nostalgic. Please, please, please. hold on to that thought. Because on the layout there was the stone bridge, and that's what they changed. And they also changed the loop around the tree route on C. It sucks because the hero comes out when I'm working 7 hours. I can't play it until I'm like dead tired. Ah, fuck. That blows. That blows. I'm conflicted if I should wait to farm the weekly quests or just go for it.
Round 1.
Okay, this looks old. Like it's using the old stuff. They probably did change it on Dominion because this is obviously different to anyone who plays. No, it's different. Yeah, it's different. Damn. But yeah, there used to be a rock path and it really fucked with a lot of people. Very potent to ledging. Very. Yeah, I don't need to go through a historian lesson here. Yeah, that was a little off topic. I get really excited. Okay, what I want is maps. Now, what? Man, that really, like, no duh. I want the old, before they got reworked, so like the stone path and all that. However, I want both versions accessible. You know what I mean? As well as I want the versions where they were in drought and they were flooded. As well as the Prince of Persia map variant for Harbor. I don't understand why. I get it, events and all that. I don't understand why they can't be in the game by default. It adds a lot more flavor than just their events because it's based on the theme. I get it, you don't want to screw up the theme and you want to make it special, but the For Honor community have been kind of in a drought of maps. Don't get me wrong, I love more heroes, but heroes could carry the game for so long before it's like I'm seeing the same thing every time I play. So they could do so much. Gauntlet, Market Town. Also, is it the old one? This looks like it's the old one. No, this is the new one. Wait a minute. Yeah, this looks like the new one. I for whatever reason, I forgot what the old one looks like. I don't remember. I'm freaking out. Because there's no bridge here at all. You literally had to travel through mid. This one. This is very, very multi-layered. Obviously, you got spawn points here, and again, we need to take a look closer. We got 2 more maps to go, or yeah, 2 more maps, and we're good. Like this little screenshot alone could be a perfect point for a point somewhere, or a spawn, because from here you could go anywhere. I don't know. Let's fucking. I hope my voice is being recorded. Okay, it looks like it is. Very good. I definitely think you can make this map work. Despite it being very vertical, I do think you can make it work as Dominion. I still think it's unlikely compared to the other maps, but I do think this does have a decent shot. Or at least it puts itself in the eyes. But I don't think it's the two maps that are going to be converted.
Round 1.
Okay. Obviously, you get the obvious minion lane. Okay. Did they close it off? They did. So obviously, if you played the event, this was open. This bridge was open, and you could have the spawn point. Obviously, could be right there, and it opens up to directly the minion lane. Now, while this is really small, so it's like a compact beachhead, almost. So you got minion lane, and you could go up here, and have this. They could probably expand this, or have this be a point of some kind, or just have that as cosmetic. And like directly above the other spawn, be that. What did that do? Oh, it closed that off. Okay. I guess that happened. I don't like this idea of this point being directly above the spawn. It just feels weird. I do think they could make, I don't know, a wooden platform here or something. And, like, also having this place opened up a little bit, and that be the point. And also have at least some of the tower open. And let's go that way first. So we already got this point that this is a spawn and that's it. Where the other spawn is going to be? That's a good question. Because you could also just have, since it's that other capture point is really close to the other spawn, you could have it directly in front again. You run into the issue of, well, where's the fun? You hardly have to travel anywhere. So again, you could make it traversal again and have a point, I don't know, here. And you know, never mind. I think having a point like right here would work. Pretty fair, to be honest. So having a point up here and a point over there would kind of work, or kind of next to each other though, and that's my only gripe with it. And a little bit problematic, maybe. Because it pretty much cuts the map in half. There's no point in traveling to that side at all. So what they could do here is use the bottom layer. I keep forgetting this. This is where the stairs are. I'm so used to the event one. They could have the map be here, or like the point be here. It's down there? Yeah, you could have a point right here. It is perfect for a map, or perfect for a point. So you have a point elevated as well as below. So it's dependent on verticality, and this area could be accessed through this little bit. And again, if you watch my Test Your Metal video, this was filled in. This was filled in. So you know they're willing to add assets to this area to fill the space up. Whether they should, I don't know. I think if they want to make a point here, they could most definitely add something here. But if they want to go with my idea with having a low point and upwards point, they definitely could do that. Also, this area was different too. There was a giant stairwell up to this huge point. So there's that. Again, that just shows they're willing to change a map enough to make a game mode work. Especially Dominion. I don't know why no one has caught on that they have made event game mode maps that basically could be altered to a Dominion map and work phenomenally. Hell, they could also put a spin on this, or a spin on a couple maps, maybe already listed ones, and they could just like just completely scrap the minion lane entirely. However, I'm not too sure on the ins and outs whether that'll be bad or good, but it could definitely add to making the map unique enough to be its own thing. So just scrapping minion lane and have point there, elevated, and a point right over here where the structure used to be. That would also work. So you got one below, one above, and one in the middle. As in elevation. So they could definitely make this map work. So they could probably just experiment with scrapping minion lane for this map. Fuck. That could work. I won't be necessarily against it, however, it's gonna be a pain in the ass sometimes, I could see. Because one spawn doesn't have access to the lower level, or at least immediately. They're gonna have to access I guess they do technically have a stairwell, but it's a little bit more, the time to get there from that stairwell as opposed to the other spawn is a little more difficult. Now let's go map and canopy. Canopy is the immediate thought that comes to mind when I think Dominion. It is absolutely perfect. This house right here, this structure right here where Bell is, perfect for minion lane. Perfect for a minion little combat area. I don't know. I'll pick Warlord again to close off this video. It most definitely could work. And I'll show you the ins and outs, because there's a lot of spots that I wasn't even aware of. And I also noticed in one of this guy's video, I'll just cite it so you guys can watch it yourself if you want to. Tony. Toeknee. Toeknee. Tony. He mentions that there's maps, not having non-utilized spaces, and honestly, I've been watching a lot of For Honor content, especially with Canopy being in that list, and there was this one spot that I have never, ever seen anyone access at any point. Breach maps are also very common with this, where there are little areas that I have not known about at all since they've launched. It's this little elevated roof spot. I never knew this was a thing. So anyways, let's get to, obviously you get the typical spawn point over there, next to the fire, and spawn point in the little gateway. Now, this could be a map or a point. I don't necessarily think on the roof. I hope so, or at least have a bit of it caved in. So it's like you can still like run up it like a stairwell. So it does have that kind of cool elevated surface point effect. and I actually think a map also had elevated points. I think technically on not Cathedral, but the one that had a bridge across it for test your metal. There was like the point went up the stairs a teensy bit, or at least one level. So this for sure can be a point. That's most definitely possible. What this map, this point could be is this whole point, this whole little mini island could be a point to itself. It's a multi-level point. However, the issue you run into is someone could just chill up here, wait for his team to arrive, and technically be contesting the point. And that's the only problem I could see that being a thing. So, as an alteration to that is, from the top of the stairs and going up the ramp onto this roof could be the elevated point. So not the whole thing, but just the building, the human-made structure, could be the point. And of course, the minion lane, I think it's fine as is. Yeah, maybe have 3 lanes of traffic of minions going on the side as well as through the building. But yeah. And this being a point as well. I think this was bigger. Hold on. I'm trying to recall. What was the Hitakiri event like? Hold on. I don't remember. I think they may have moved it back. Oh yeah, I remember now. Yeah, they moved this house backwards into over here, giving a lot more free space for the Hitakiri event. So, giving it a lot more fighting space. So if they did the same thing here with the Dominion map, this is probably the go-to. So they just move the house back and this be a point. And I would say this is probably the one that is the most likely to be a Dominion map. I would talk about the Breach maps being altered to fit Dominion, which I mean they are possible. There are segments where they could basically function as Dominion maps and be fine. Like the Jormungandr map could work great. Hell, actually, they could probably technically skim off some bits at the beginning and have this huge elongated track of minion lane, and as well as A and B point. Possibly even have a 4th point, which I don't think is possible, but who is to say there will not be? Now let's go and talk about which ones are the most likely. I would say the ones that are more convenient and easy to work with, like Canopy, are the most likely to be altered. Town, or Market Town, is a lot more tricky to work with, and it's very kind of disorienting trying to figure out how things are laid out. Viking Village is most definitely possible. It is up there. I would like Forest to be it, but they're gonna need to put some thought into it. Cinder Mill is possible. Citadel or Cathedral is. Canopy and Cathedral are in my mind the most likely because it does most of the homework for you. But as well as you have to think about the other map, like the Secluded Keep, because the event had changed a lot of the map for it to work Dominion. So they might be just waiting or saving those for a later season or later update, or not update, year. Or they go, fuck it, let's just do 2 maps per season, or 2 maps every season that doesn't include a new hero. So, like, there's each season will have a hero skin as well as either a new map or a new hero. I think I'd like that pattern a lot more than just 2 overall. So Canopy does a lot of the homework for you. Viking Village is also very possible. So those are my top 3: Cathedral, Viking Village, and Canopy. I would say Forest is maybe fourth. It does come close to it. Actually, you know what? Cindermill is probably my 4th. Forest is my 5th. The reason why is the Forest, while it does have good points for A and C, Minion Lane is going to be a little tricky to work with, in my mind. It's still very possible by removing some boulders, but it's going to be a little more tricky to work with still. Cindermill, again, like I said, it does a lot of homework for you. Again, you still need to clear out the clutter right here for it to work. Again, mid lane works really well, and another point on the side does fit well. Shipyard, I honestly, I had to think outside the box for the map on Dominion to really work. I guess you could put some shit here to have a spawn point, but again, you're having a 1 point start from lower and another point. Actually, there are maps that do that still, but again, I don't think Shipyard is maybe 6th likely. Canyon is possible, but actually, you know, Forest and Canyon, they are aesthetically pleasing to have points on. You know what I mean? Like, fighting these in iconic locations, like they give this feeling of fighting in a natural location and not being really altered by man, if you know what I mean. Like, this area, it feels very secluded, very like the gentleman living here didn't alter much of the environment, so it's still kind of owned by the environment. So fighting in those locations do feel nice. That's probably why I have a bias for Canyon and Forest. Tower, I completely get why the dude was struggling a bit. I do think it's possible, but I think it's on the lower end of things. They definitely could do it, but you're gonna have to think way too hard. They're gonna change some things, but you need to make sure things are evened out. So you're gonna run into the issue of needing to have a point here and a point in the tree, which obviously I stated, and that would probably make things a lot more fair. However, Minion Lane, again, you run into the issue of you need to clear up this bridge for that to work. Everything else, though, is pretty fair, honestly. Yeah. So either Tower Ruin or Shipyard are the most unlikely ones in my mind. I don't see... Shipyard is on the lower end. Tower is above that. Then you got... you got Market Town. Then you get Secluded Keep. Then you get Canyon. Then Forest. Then you get Cindermill, Cathedral, and then you got Canopy. I'm a hard believer that Canopy is almost a guarantee at this point. It is perfectly laid out. Other than maybe expanding the pathing for the minions, I really do think Canopy has a huge shot. Cathedral and Canopy have mega shot. However, I keep forgetting that they're not coming out this season. I think it may be themed related releases, so it really depends on what heroes are releasing next year. So I would imagine they would be focusing on Samurai or Wulin. And since, you know, Wooland don't really have any maps other than 3, maybe? I think it's 3. 3 or just 2, considering Breach and basically the dual map. Which that dual map should be in a training map as well. I don't know why it's not. But, yeah. Yeah. Canopy, Cathedral, and either Viking Village or Cinder Mill are probably the most likely. But that's just me. Oh, I messed it up. So, back to the most likely. Cinder Mill, then Viking Village, then Cathedral. Or Secluded Keep, then Cathedral. No, I'm stupid. I'm stupid. Secluded Keep, Cinder Mill, Viking Village, Cathedral, and Canopy. In order from least likely to the most likely. I fucking think Canopy is amongst the most likely than Cathedral. Cathedral does a lot of the homework. Same goes for Canopy. They are gimmies. However, they have done work with the Secluded Keep, so that does also make those odds really well made. Viking Village also does a lot of the homework for them. The only issue is one spawn point being like in this little hut. But again, I think, you know, 4 people, I think it works itself out fairly well. So yeah. That's about it. My throat is a little dry. So yeah, thank you for listening to my rambling. And later.